Hi, I'm Dr. Melinda Haws. I go by Mindy. I was president of the Aesthetic Society, that's ASAPS, 2023 to 2024. So I'm immediate past president. And I practice in Nashville, Tennessee in private practice. I was one of 4 children, oldest, only girl. My parents divorced when I was 11, so then it was pretty much my mom raising the 4 of us. But I knew from the time my younger brothers were born, when I was 5, they were preemies and intensive care unit, I was gonna save the babies. Little did I know that OB-GYN, women really don't need you there unless they have trouble. And then I got to medical school and met plastic surgeons, and my path was set. So in my plastic surgery program, there were a lot of women residents. Roxanne Guy, who was also a Limitless participant, as she was the first woman president of ASPS, was the first woman plastic surgeon at my training program. I assumed there were a lot of women in plastic surgery training programs everywhere. Turns out I was wrong. When I got out of training programs, only 10% of practicing plastic surgeons were women, and I found that patients liked having a woman to go to. Over my lifetime, I've had numerous mentors. My mom was probably the first one who, when I was in the 2nd grade and said, should I be a nurse or a doctor or a teacher? She said, well, don't you want to be in charge? Be a doctor. When I got into residency, my chairman and the physicians there, even though they were men, were incredibly supportive. And over half of my program was women then. So I assumed there were a lot of women going to be there as mentors. My co-residents were my mentors. My good friend, Mary Gingras, who was 2 years ahead of me in residency, who's been my partner for the last 22 years, has been an incredible mentor. Lori Cassis, who is the person who came to me when I was a young plastic surgeon in practice and said, why aren't you a member of the Aesthetic Society? You need to be a member of the Aesthetic Society. She was a mentor. All the way through, Roxanne Guy, Linda Phillips, Susan McKinnon, Lynn Jeffers, who's another Limitless, have all been mentors, friends, have been incredibly important to me. Certainly, I have mentored male residents and male medical students and men who are younger to practice than myself. So I think we need to realize that although there are some differences, like the women are the ones who actually get pregnant, the better things are for those women in pregnancy and in having kids, the better they are for men who want to be fathers too. We're all people, and we're stronger together, and we're only as strong as our weakest link. So as long as we support each other, we're going to take this specialty to great places. So with the Aesthetic Society, it's actually a pretty long run-up to be president. I've served from 2014 until 2023 on the board, and then as secretary, treasurer, vice president, president-elect, before I was ever president. When I started my presidential year at the Aesthetic Society in May of 2023, the society was at a pivot point. We could choose to either become more exclusive or become more inclusive. The aesthetic market has exploded across the globe. There are now more aesthetic providers than there ever were. And it's time for us to step up as plastic surgeons and lead that group. So over my year, we developed more relationships with core aesthetic providers. We developed more relationships with our allied professionals, our nurse injectors and our estheticians. I never dreamed I would be president of the Aesthetic Society because I refused to be anything but my authentic self. And I was just sure they weren't ready for that. Turns out they were. And because I said yes, I think more women have gotten more visibility. At least I hope so. I think it's really important as a woman that when you're asked to do something, if you can do it, go ahead. Like being on a panel, like speaking at a meeting. If you're nervous about it, that's normal. There are lots of us out here willing to help you get through it and coach you how to do it. Just remember that when you're speaking at that podium at a national meeting, somewhere in the audience is a young woman, medical student or resident, looking at you thinking, I can do that, because she sees you do it. I think it's important we all maximize our opportunities, and it doesn't have to always be in the Aesthetic Society. It can be at your regional meetings, but it's important to lead. It's important to be present. It's important our voices are heard. In regards to public speaking, I took the same speech classes in high school and college it required like everybody else. And I never really had a problem with the speaking part. I don't typically get attacked by nerves for whatever reason. I just find I really need to know my subject matter. And if I know it, then I can talk about it, and I can be prepared to pivot to wherever I need to go to answer the question. I think a career in medicine, in particular in plastic surgery, is incredibly rewarding. In aesthetic plastic surgery, all my patients want to be in my office. It's not like taking care of a heart attack victim or being in the emergency room where people are sad and they're scared and they don't want to be there. They want to be here. They're excited to be here. Plastic surgery today has allowed me to be a more involved physician, to be a real doctor, to take care of the whole patient, and to get them where they want to go because they're healthy to start with. So I would advise people going into medicine, you got to go into what you love because you're going to do it for a long time. And don't decide before you get to medical school what that's going to be, because you don't know. I didn't know. I think it's really important for residents, particularly women residents, to realize that they are part of this tsunami of fabulous women coming into plastic surgery. It's important to get involved. It's important to be a part of leadership. It's so exciting to be a part of this right now and to watch all this happening around me and to see all these women coming past me doing bigger and better and greater things. So be a part of that, contribute. It can be on a small level, it can be on a big level, it can be on a state level, in your city where you practice, but contribute. You are important and you want to be a part of this wave. So when I became a mother, I was in my first year of aesthetic plastic surgery practice here in Nashville. And I put my daughter in daycare, which was just 2 blocks down the street. And my mom would come help me whenever I had to take calls so that somebody was there at night. It took me theoretically until Tess was 17 to no longer be a single parent. But I had a whole village of people helping me raise her in the meantime. We can't do any of this alone. We can't do a surgical case all by ourselves. We need a village, and women need to know to ask for help. And if you can outsource something, do it. But your timing is your timing. That's the important thing. When I started my presidency of Aesthetic Society, I was an empty nester. My daughter was at college. She is successful, she is self-sufficient, and she still loves me. And she credits me with being a big influence and teaching her how to be tough and how to lead. So I think it's important for women to know that it's important for your kids to see you do what you do. It's important for them to know that you're a busy plastic surgeon. Your children are going to learn about leadership from you. I think the biggest thing, if I had a chance to go back in time and tell my younger self something, I would tell me to don't worry. It will all work out the way it's supposed to. It may not work out the way you think it should or what your plan is for you, but in the end, when you look back, it's all going to make sense. So try to worry the least amount you can. Be prepared to pivot, but know that it will work out.